and welcome to the Maul Street Journal, the podcast that brings you all the latest news and reviews for American rugby. We are part of the global Gainline Network, and we can be found on all your usual platforms, including YouTube, Spotify, and iTunes. If you haven't already, give us a like or subscribe. Tell a couple of friends about us, or you know what? Just write a nice note on a plane ticket to England with a World Cup final ticket attached and pop it into my mailbox. This is episode 9. You may recall that I'm David Lawrence. I'm joined once again by the full team. Coming to us from San Antonio is Kolya. Kolya, how are you doing this evening?
Pretty good. It's hot, really hot. Better today than it was on Monday. And the school year is now in full swing.
Oh, that's
Have
right.
all that fun going on.
How is intro stuff for your new class? I assume you have new classes.
Yes, it's going pretty well. I've been warned for all of last year that this group is supposed to be basically demon children. But
you love to hear that.
So far they've been pretty good.
They're not even living up to the name.
No.
I mean, the thing with demon children, they just need more exercise.
Yes.
We're pausing for effect.
So last week the last few weeks we've been opening up with, what we're listening to, what we're watching. This week, we're going with, what have you been trying to fix in your house this week, Kolya?
So somehow, or this house that we bought was after this guy before us had done a bunch of like home improvement stuff, do it yourself, DIY projects, and had created this entire new addition, and the electrical wiring is all sorts of crazy.
Uh-oh.
So we just tried to replace a light bulb, and that ended up turning off our garage. So that is what we're currently working on.
Julia, coming to us from the Mountain State. In fact, how are you doing right now?
The Mountain State is West Virginia.
Oh, I didn't think you would notice that.
I am coming to you from the state for lovers. I am coming to you from Virginia. North Virginia.
That whole bit was for Hugh, by the way.
It was. He's gonna love it. He's the geography master. He has definitely figured out which coast is which coast. Now, interesting. I probably should have checked in with you guys before we decided what all we were going to say, because mine unfortunately is also literally an electrical problem, and it's because I bought a house from a guy who did all DIY, and he installed all of his outlets upside down, which was apparently like a hack in the 70s. I don't know what the deal was, but apparently we don't have the same electricity as they do, which I feel like is probably not good. But yes, since it's not my business to understand that, I'm just a girl, not my business to understand, not good. I am learning on the fly and very quickly what does and does not constitute a hot wire and what is bad. And for example, when we bought the house, it had a pond. I did not build a pond. That's insane. It had a pond, and I was like, I'm going to become a pond guy. I'm going to understand fish. There are fish in there that I did not expect, and they were there and they were alive. We bought in winter and it was frozen over, but they were alive. So now I have all of these fish I did not expect. I can't wait to find
out how this connects with the electricity.
There is an outlet there because you need to have a pump and a filter, ideally a pump and a filter, but you definitely need a pump. If you don't keep the water moving, all sorts of bad things happen. But you don't keep the water stagnant, you do filter it. And there's a box out there that he apparently wired himself, and it is bad. And every time you plug something into it or try to reset it, it shuts the entire house off.
Did you guys have the same designer? This is amazing.
I know. I really need to know if this guy just went around the country being like, I could wire that.
Well, you're not going to believe this, but the thing I've been trying to fix this week is We bought a house
Electrical
from a DIY guy who basically rewired everything himself. Um, Not as severe though. This is more about the way it went. We have the ceiling fan slash light in the
Slash
ceiling
main
of
light.
in the bath, the only light really. And finally, it's never burned out the entire time we've lived here. Suddenly, it looked like a horror film for about a couple hours, and then it was just gone. And I was like, I have no idea how to replace these lamps, and I'm searching for a video. I found it. I found exactly the video. There's only one.
They've all got light fixtures that are from a time that we aren't from.
Exactly.
And nobody has ever heard of them.
The video is almost 3 minutes long, and more than 2 minutes of it is him saying, if this isn't the model that you've got, don't watch this video. You're not going to like it. There's nothing interesting that's going to happen. I'm like, okay, thank you for spending two-thirds of your video telling us why we shouldn't watch it.
But he's spending 2/3 of the video.
He eventually gets to the thing I needed to see, which is which screw in the casing needs to actually be taken out and which one you don't take out. And then, but in the video, then it sort of cuts away. He goes, "Well, I'm going to go get the lamp and put it in." And he comes back and says, "Well, I replaced the lamp and it didn't work. I got the lamp on eBay and it's apparently the wrong size. So I'll guess I'll make a trip to the hardware store whenever this COVID lockdown thing ends."
I'm still gonna upload it though.
No!
This video didn't help, but I am gonna upload it.
Yeah, I definitely.
And that's just like us in our videos.
That's what it's all about, as they say in Canada. Our tradition is, of course, to start with some news. I'll toss it over to Kolya. Kolya, what's new?
So there's two big things. First, former Utah Warriors prop Tonga Kofe has signed for Leicester Tigers starting next season.
That's big.
Yeah.
Big news. Great movement.
Yes. And the second bit of news is that we have the MLR draft tomorrow, August 21st. Anthem gets the first pick, and all signs are pointing to Central Washington's Oscar Tracy going first. I have not watched any of him, so I'm not sure how good of
Don't know if it's true.
I just know that is what all the smart money is on. He's an outside back and is 6'4", so nice height.
Take it.
Nice. I know almost nothing about the draft. I know from my friend James Steely that neither did it seem that the MLR knew much about it. They've kind of not been too forthcoming, but I guess the details have finally emerged. A stat that James posted was about the representation from around the world, which is kind of cool. Obviously, the USA dominate with 86 players. England have 11, Argentina 10, Canada 9, Zimbabwe coming in with 7. Australia and New Zealand 5 each, along with South Africa, 3 from Wales, 2 from Ireland, 2 from Scotland, and then 1 each from France, Hong Kong, Mexico, and Trinidad and Tobago. Kind of a cool little mix.
There's also one from Dubai.
Really?
Yes.
James missed him.
It's really encouraging to hear that there's more growth coming in terms of a talent attraction, only because we've touched on that in terms of not the expansion anymore, but now the continuance of the league.
Julia, do you have any more news besides the draft?
I don't. All of women's eyes are on all of women's eyes. All of the eyes that are interested in women's rugby are all looking at Rugby World Cup 2020.
Yes, indeed. We've got a big weekend coming up just a couple of days now as we're talking. From where we are, the first matches are women versus England to kick off what is bound to be the best World Cup yet, unless England win, with the men playing later that night for the World Cup qualification for 2027. I want to save the England match for second. This is a really big one for the men. They're favorites to win, I would expect. We don't know who's going to be on either squad as we're recording this, which is just about 49 hours before kickoff, which is a little bit frustrating. Canada have fallen all the way to 25th in world rankings, but it's not like we're way ahead of that. Canada's home field advantage usually works out pretty well for them. Kolya, it's really hard to preview this match. Do you have any predictions or thoughts at all? Who's nailed on to this squad no matter what for the USA?
So I would expect it to be very, very similar to what we saw a few weeks ago. There haven't been any new call-ups. There have just been people dropped from the squad. And that back three still worries me quite a bit.
Any
But
idea what the conditions are going to be like?
I would fully expect us to beat Canada in this match.
Um,
Prevailing thought.
Yeah.
Well, Julia, both these teams will be looking to tighten things up, especially Canada, who've been on, they've been kind of a shell of their former selves.
Sure.
Our men have to think of this as a great opportunity, right?
Absolutely. And, we talk so much about in all of USA Rugby, we talk so much about exposure and, playing Canada again isn't always the biggest growth opportunity, but especially when you're right now for the men's Eagles, when you're looking towards 2027, for better or for worse, this is the kind of match you want to be playing. And so we're going to be gleaning rather a lot from this match, regardless of what happens. But what we're hoping for is a positive outcome. And it definitely looks within reach.
I really hope they get these squads out soon. Like it's getting embarrassing.
It's pretty, yeah. I mean, we were chatting about it before we came on air. Really disappointing. USA Rugby was finally nailing it with the women, and you would hope so at a Rugby World Cup. But at the same time, while you're capitalizing on this momentum, let's get the crowds back up for the men. We need it. Again, we're talking about going right back into a competition 2 years. Now would be the time. It's time to capitalize on it.
And it's big for the morale of USA Rugby as a whole.
Absolutely.
With what's going on or what's been going on with MLR recently.
For sure.
I mean, we really
gets everyone talking in a happy note.
And you really need forward movement no matter what happens. Any movement forward, any shying away from stagnancy, any of it will help, and really morale is where we're looking right now with the men.
Big time.
It would really help. It's frustrating because there is stuff to look forward to with this team.
Yeah.
Sure, it's an uphill climb right now. All teams have them, by the way. Very few teams are ever on top all the time. This is the time that we could be getting people really excited for this team.
I think that's what's so frustrating about this silence. It's just,
it feels like a missed opportunity for something that really, for better or for worse, the women perform better at this time. They're at a World Cup. The excitement is building. Just grab it. It's free. It's out there. Just grab it.
I just want to take a moment to remind all of you that liking and subscribing is the best way to help us grow. If you could tell a friend or two, that would be smashing. We are part of the global Gainline network. Did it again. And you know what? We're generally lovely people to boot. So if you want to get in touch, it's always great to hear from you. Just reach out, and all comments welcome. So we are less than 48 hours from the kickoff for the 10th Women's World Cup, or as they told us to call it last time, the World Cup. And just hours ago, our 23 was announced for our opener versus the host nation. Julia, when we first, finally saw the squad, your first comment was, so basically no surprises. But you and I quickly realized Cheta Emba was nowhere to be found. I suggested we take the opportunity to speculate wildly, but maybe that wasn't actually a good idea.
I'm not sure, honestly. So since you and I spoke, and since we had that conversation, you and I both made attempts. I made a lot of dogged attempts to find out. Usually we would see some kind of indication what's going on there. Just as is the nature of people. Some people post more on socials, some don't. Cheta doesn't so much. There isn't any indication of if it's injury, if it's playing it safe, which I consider like in the middle of injury and health. We talked about, we did see a little bit of an injury over the summer tests. What we're hoping is that this is something that's careful, because as we're going to discuss later, this match, it's exciting. It's the opening. However, it's a match that we can predict better than we can future matches. If you are a player who's on the line, I think that this would be the one that maybe you say, let's be safe. Because I mean, if we dive right into it, we have a lot to look for in this match, but the expectations are kind of laid out already.
Kolya, what were your reactions when you saw our 23?
In general, happy. I'm still worried about kicking based on our last few matches, as when you're up against a team that is better than you talent-wise, one of the best strategies is to make it closer aerially. I was a little surprised to see Caspar Gel not picked. I'm not sure if that was expected or
She's
not
on.
as the 9, as the starter.
Oh, interesting. I'll talk about that
Yeah.
in a second. Or I can now.
She
Liv,
impressed me quite a bit
yeah,
in the warm-up games.
yeah, Bargel has been super exciting. Honestly, the only insight I have into there is that Liv Ortiz has been the starter for a few years now.
Yeah.
I'm thrilled that she's back. However, you're right, she is back from injury. I was going to touch on that. Now is as good as time as any. I'm thrilled to see her back. I'm thrilled to see her confidence up. I do feel that we haven't seen the height of her. However, I'm glad that you said that because it's really exciting, actually, if you're a USA fan, to be able to say that, like, honestly, we have early depth being built at 9, which is really exciting, especially for the competitions that we play in regularly, Pac-4, namely WXV to a lesser extent. It's great. I'm stoked Cass is there. I agree it could have really been a toss-up.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think that they went for experience because Liv has played at a World Cup. And Liv has played against a lot of these England players. I wonder if that has anything to do with it. It would make sense if it did.
Yeah.
But that said, no, super exciting. I'm so glad Cass is there. I also think she's a really exciting part of the team. But
Yeah.
sorry, I didn't mean to trounce.
Yeah. Oh, no worries. And one thing I also noticed and hadn't really noticed beforehand is this is a very Loughborough Lightning heavy squad.
That's new though. They acquired 2 from the Tigers that
Okay.
you're thinking of.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, agreed. Loughborough, I mean, not to veer off too much, Loughborough had a really successful recruitment season. I'm curious to see who else they might nab, but they've also retained their USA talent, which is really saying something.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, what were you gonna say, David?
No, I was just going to say, Kolya, any other, sort of immediate thoughts when you first looked at this? Any surprises?
The Cheddar Ember one that you've already touched on was the big one.
Mm. So, Julia, I know you've got something you wanted to point out. In fairness to a listener who, give them credit, like, are always listening, are always providing us feedback, which we always appreciate. When we talk about this kind of thing, we aren't saying this is a scientific fact. This is something, we hear things from sources we consider reliable and believe it to be true. I think Julia has a great point. If you're the listener who I'm sure you know who we're referring to, thank you for continuing to listen. We really do honestly appreciate it. We love your feedback, but feel free to skip ahead a couple of minutes. Julia, go ahead.
Well, I would have given a slight bump for before that caveat. All I was going to say is there is one other one who is missing, who has traveled.
Oh, yes, please.
Who is Gabby Cantorna. In fairness, she is coming off a much bigger injury than, for example, Olivia Ortiz. Gabby is coming off a much bigger injury. I only say that because we were talking just now, about kicking. Gabby has in the past been a reliable kicker for us. I do think there is we can discuss it down the road. Honestly, we should see how the performance is. There is a reason to discuss perhaps whether Gabby should be at 10 or Max should be at 10. And I agree with the consensus that after performance over the summer tests, there is I personally don't have doubt in Mac Hawkins. I understand the prevailing concern for it. I feel like Gabby could potentially be a fix for that. However, if she's not healthy, and this is a pattern for her, if she's not healthy, it's not going to be the best to put her in. Chiefs have unfortunately learned this lesson the hard way. She's been reliable for them as well. Really, the only reason you haven't heard more about this is because they also have Alex Tessier. But without getting into the weeds, that's all I wanted to say. That was another notable one who isn't there. I'm guessing that it's a recovery aspect because we know what to expect from England. But just what I wanted to mention. And yeah, so we are going to go straight into it. It's really not a big deal. It's not something that you need to focus that much on. In my opinion, the center partnership isn't working. That's an opinion that's held by a few different people. And really, we only feel that way because we are focusing on the first receiver versus who you pass off to. That is really the only concern. when you play at that position, and I say this because if I were Sione Fukufuka, I would still have the same players on the field. I would just have them in different places. And I say this because below Metai Tonga, I feel, since we were talking about Loughborough talent, I feel that below is most talented at 15. What we see right now is we see Lottie Sharp at 15, which is strange because we've never seen her play there for USA, which is quite daring to do at an international level. We've also never seen her play there for Saracens, where she plays her club games. In fact, she's one of the captains. So I'm wondering what's up there. You know, that's not an implication on anybody else on the pitch. However, if I were in charge, my 11 through 15 would look different. I would put Alona at 11. I think that it's where she's safest and most reliable at this time. And this just has to do with what she can bring immediately and what we know we would be up against on the far channels against England. And I say that specifically because of England. And I honestly say that in a complimentary way because we have seen her take the likes of Ellie Kildun's body on, Jess Breach's body on. Claudia McDonald, unfortunately injured, but that was another one I was thinking of when I originally formulated this. We know what we need in terms of defending channels, and I do feel that that's where the defense would be better. And I only say that because if you have to choose between Alona and Emily Henrich for who I would want to stop Ellie Kildun, it would be Alona. That's really the only reason why I say that. I would put her there just because I already just said it, because it's most reliable. That said, Emily Henrich is super flexible as well in 15s. I think that she would do 13 fine. But I don't really think that it's going to have a huge impact. I think that it will still probably work as well as it would either way. That's really just a small kind of nitpicky thing. We have bigger, more overarching concerns in the back line that have to do with entire, you know, not set play as in a set piece that you think of for the forwards, but it's set plays that the team practices. And that's everybody 10 through 15. We know that there's a disconnect there. We're all laymen technically. We haven't really identified what it is, but especially Kolya spoke really well about it last time you were talking about USA, and I want to pass it back to you because I want to see what you think of this now, having seen since the last time we talked about it now, having seen another two warm-ups. I'm just curious what you guys think in terms of, I ask this about the backs in terms of attacking. We can talk about defense in another way. Defense, I feel like other people are responsible for. But in attack, I'm really curious what you guys think in the face of this lineup.
Kolya, I've been curious too.
So my biggest issue with this is who the England backline is.
Yep.
And that's Jess Breach, Abby Dow, and Ellie Kildun. And what I'd want there is someone who can go and put up in front of that.
Yep.
And that is why if it was me picking the 15, I would put Alona at wing.
I'm curious what you think about because we talked about it on our chat as well. I'm curious what you think about being under the high ball. You talked about a bit about an aerial game. I completely agree. Yes. I'm curious what you think about that.
Yes. I actually think that might be why Lottie Sharp is playing at 15.
That would make sense.
That was my thought when I saw this was
just the height advantage, you think?
Yes. Yeah. That they're putting her there because they're expecting Mo Hunt to just bomb us.
And that's
either of you, is there a stat line that Alona could put up on Friday that would make you go, you know what? That jersey's yours.
It's weird.
It wouldn't be a stat line. It would be It would be showing that there's a game plan around her.
Yeah,
now, we've talked about this before. She kind of plays as kind of a wild card position right now.
Yes, that's exactly what I was going to say. What would do it for me would be the ability to play a set play. That's what it would be for me.
Yeah. I want a
play a line play.
A game plan. I want set plays kind of built around using her strength
Yes.
because she can bring in 2, 3 tacklers.
Right.
Yes.
And it always does.
And if you can keep that
Exactly.
in space and get it out to someone like Lottie Sharp.
Yes. Exactly. The huge draw for having her paired with Alev is the two of them can be super magnetic. It's if you can draw it properly, and the problem is that it just requires a little bit more discipline. But if you can, and it requires patience, that's the thing is between 7s and 15s, 7s players don't have to be patient as much. It's one of the things that you learn when you're crossing codes. It's just a learning curve. If we could see
I
some,
foresee a big tournament from Liv.
I really think that I think that she's gonna probably end up on the team of the tournament. I do. It's just feeling like it.
So I want to do the positive stuff. Kolya, give us a couple of players you think, have a real chance at sort of making a big impression on Friday, someone who's going to jump off the screen to new viewers that are growing all the time.
To new viewers, Hope Rogers.
Absolutely.
Sadly, that's like
She's
me with
electric.
Kieran Reid. I'm like, oh, I found somebody that can. Oh, he's retired.
Yeah. And you know what? Actually, just while we're on the topic of things that are exciting to watch, Talia Brody is playing out of position, which I think is cool and weird. I was talking with some friends. I hope you're listening. Talking with some friends from the Leicester Tiger women's fan cast, and we were talking about the skill set that Talia Brody brings, and it reminds me, especially for longtime ball knowers, it reminds me of Shauna Brown, who is now retired from England. But just somebody who you can play them all the way in the loose, and that's honestly what I expected from Talia. What's really interesting to me, and I do admit that this is like a forwards nose thing, but we brought one second row specialist. Two. We have two second row specialists. One of them is not starting. I'm curious to see what the plan is there. Throwing Talia Brody, and she normally plays on the flank. She can 8 very well. If you're a thinking person, you're never going to take Rachel Johnson out of the 8. So with that in mind, I think it's just wanting to have her on the pitch because she is like a Tasmanian devil. I mean, she can be everywhere, and she looks for work. But all this sounds like a 7 to me. That's what a 7 does. So I'm really curious to see what the deal is there. I'm wondering if there's a special scrum plan I'm not smart enough to figure out. But I'm excited.
Kolya,
Sorry, that was my
anyone else
answer
you?
for
Yeah,
you to accept.
I would actually think it's the opposite. I think they expect, or our coaching staff might expect us to be dominated at the scrum.
Yeah, fair. looking at that looking at the front row that is starting,
Yes.
but really looking at the bench. No, I mean, Lardak and Davis and Sarah Burner on the bench.
Yeah.
Yeah, we know what they want, and they're going to get it.
But having 3 flankers out there, if you have a scrum that is going backwards, can work.
It's really smart. No, I didn't mean to say anything otherwise. I think that it's to have a third flanker on the pitch, which I think is cool.
Yes.
Julie, it's funny that you just mentioned her name because she was the next thing on my list. Hope Rogers, I heard her on, I think it was, USA Rugby Happy Hour, like a year, maybe a little over a year ago, and she wasn't sure she was going to make it to this World Cup. She was sounding pretty like, I don't know. So I imagine this is going to be kind of a swan song for her. How hard is she going to try to punish everyone in her way? And, who else are you looking for, to sort of see break out at this enormous stage?
Well, just regarding Hope, just on the topic of Hope, I really hope, I think in a way I'm probably projecting my wishes upon her, but I'm really hoping that she's thinking the same thing I am, which is Sarah Byrne was nominated for World Player of the Year. The only reason Hope Rogers has never been nominated for World Player of the Year is because she's American. And I think this is probably going to be the tournament that is going to decide. I think if she has a storming tournament, I think that this could be the year that she's nominated for World Player of the Year. It's always less conventional players in World Cup years. I mean, and this is extremely American of me, but I think that it's preposterous that she hasn't won already. I think that that's ridiculous. I think that other than Sarah Byrne, I think that she's the most talented prop on the planet. And so does Sarah Byrne, by the way. She has said such. She has said it in the face of playing against Exeter. So that was my feeling on Hope. In terms of who I am excited about, I'm excited that USA Rugby has done the smart, brave, but mostly smart thing and brought a few WER stars, a few people from the USA Sevens as well, which is smart to have them to bolster it. But we're not falling into the trap that perhaps Ireland does, where we've become too reliant. So with that said, we already mentioned her. I'm already excited to see what all Cass Bargel brings out. We've already gone over it of why I'm excited about that one. I'm really glad that Rachel Ericke is finally getting her flowers. I feel like it's pretty easy, especially in a USA team, to fall into the shadows if you're a loose forward. And I've really appreciated her work ethic. She has always been on the fringes of the Eagles or an Eagle, and has stuck around and has really put her time and energy in. We've seen it in WR. I'm also really excited for Kristen Bitter. This will be her first big exposure, and I'm so stoked that it's going to be on the world stage. I think that she's really exciting. I think it's really encouraging that we have this kind of depth, whether it's the people who are here or the ones who are coming up, but we have a lot of depth in the midfield, in the backs. A lot of teams that are playing at this World Cup do not have the depth that we have there, and that's really exciting to me. I'm really excited to see what she could bring. She's young comparatively. She really showed out this WER season with the Onyx. Also, not that it's the most important thing or whatever, but she has brought tremendous vibes. I will also say that on socials.
Vibes are important.
Vibes are important.
I know I keep banging the drum, but Paige Stathopoulos, I think she could have a real impact off the bench on Friday.
I'm a big fan. I'm a huge fan. I'm a career number 2. I'm stoked for Paige. Super understated as a player. She has a lot of discipline, which I really appreciate. She's one of the cleanest shoes that I've seen playing in a while. Great in line out. Solid. It's really nice to not have to worry about your front row, and I feel like this tournament we don't, which again is something that not every team at this tournament can say right
now. I guess we should touch on the England squad. It's not their very tip top selections, maybe, but a respectable group. They pack a lot of firepower. They could do a number on us if we don't stay disciplined. Kolya, Coach Fuka, he talked a lot about the physicality of these Red Roses. What do you suppose his message is going to be just before kickoff?
Don't let the pressure get to you. England's under more pressure than the US is.
That's true.
I really appreciate that that's finally been the prevailing message. Mm-hmm. I think that it's time that England feel under pressure. I don't think that it's bad that everybody is starting to come for them.
Julia, same question. I got to a chat with Rachel Law earlier this week, and she honestly got me kind of fired up to the point where I felt like we had a legitimate shot. Like, what would you be telling these players in order to get a performance that we can feel positive about?
Thanks, Arla. It was a great episode too.
Thank you.
So, and I mean, I guess David too. Mostly Rachel. What I would say, I think, and what I'm really heartened by is that I feel like both Sione and Kate and Rachel, the leadership on the player side, I think that they are rising to the occasion. I think everybody, and not just USA, but all of the other teams that are kind of on the precipice of breaking into that top tier, I think that there is finally an optimism that it won't be the same hegemony forever. And I know that sounds really weak if you're not super, super into women's rugby already, but for the longest time, it has felt like there were 2 leaders, and that's it. Those 2 are still leaders. There is still all sorts of betting lines that say that it's going to be England, New Zealand again. Don't believe it, or don't believe that it is already foregone. And I think that USA is coming into this knowing that it is not forgone. Do we think we're going to be in the final? No. That's not what we're talking about, but we know that we know that the ceiling is higher than we once thought. We aren't done getting good. We can reach higher. We're seeing it more at home domestically, but that's encouraging to the team. I think that it's having an effect on them as well here at home. It could be our best place in World Cup yet. It absolutely could.
It really could. Kolya, final thoughts on this match?
We can only hope.
We can only hope, Rogers.
Dang! Can we name it that? Can we name
I
the
want the
episode
t-shirt.
that? We can only hope, Rogers. Actually, yeah. And Hattie, if you're listening, gotta make a t-shirt.
So we hadn't really talked about it. We only talked about previewing this game, but I'm so fired up now. And the way Kolya and you were just talking about it, like we do have a shot to come top 2 in this pool. We really do. I don't. I'm not predicting outright we're going to beat Samoa. I think all these matches are going to be incredibly difficult, but I think we should beat Samoa. I think we're a little bit in Australia's head right now.
Exactly.
I think we can beat the Wallaroos, and if that happens, that gets us into the knockouts.
It would be a win like that. That is my number one windfall. For me, that would be a win. Consummate win. I'd be thrilled. I think they're
Kolya,
right to have their.
Are we in the top 2 in this pool?
I think that's what the goal should be.
It really should. Woo. Julia, on Friday, are you more looking forward to it for the amazing people we're going to see out there, or are you more dreading it for what might be rough?
I'm gonna be honest. I'm not dreading anything yet. Especially if you are the fan of the men's versus women's, whatever. I get really excited for Women's World Cup. I'm still in my excited mode. I really want to see what everyone can bring. I think it just really does everybody a disservice to go into this thinking, are we going to win this match? No. Okay. Do we want to sit around and hurt our own feelings, or do we want to see how well we can do and how much we can improve from the last time? And I think that this team is looking at this and saying, how much better can we do than last time? And that's
Beautiful.
Exactly what you want from your national team.
So we'll just do our predictions to wrap up this part of the show. My friends on the Scottish Rugby podcast, they like to do head, heart, arse, which is basically what do you think is going to happen, what do you hope is going to happen, and what's your worst case scenario. My head, heart, arse for this, head 42-10 kind of feels likely and kind of reasonable. My heart 24-21, and we give them a scare with a crazy comeback and maybe just run out of time. Arse, I feel deep down it could end up 60-3 with the home crowd just in a froth. It could happen. Who wants to go next?
Head says 40-15. Heart 28-20. Otherwise,
by the way, I mentioned the comeback in your 28-20. Are we ahead and then they come back and beat us, or are we trying to claw
Or
back?
is it always just
it feels different?
it's close the whole game. It's close the whole game.
Perfect?
And then I don't even want to think about the other one.
Fair. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Julia.
I think you guys are bang on in terms of the reality. I really do think, I'll be a little bit careful and say maybe 45, but I do think there's no chance that they nil us. I'm going with it. So yeah.
Heart score at least.
Well, heart I'm excited for because I have that. But for head, I'll say like 13-45. For heart. Yeah. No. I like that. 28-20. I like that as well. And it's a Hope Hattie plus somebody else. And none of them are converted. Why not? Whatever, fine. And then for me it's coming back. We come back and we almost claw it back. That's very American. And then for arse, Sunderland isn't exactly Rugby City. I'm not thinking that it's gonna sound like Twickenham or anything, I hope. So
by the way, they're not going to sing Swing Low, are they?
Oh, unfortunately, I think they probably will.
Oh God.
In Sunderland, they definitely will.
They will.
Oh God.
For sure. They would be woke snowflakes if they didn't. Let's just leave it So my worst case, I'm gonna say, is 50-5.
Okay.
I don't think they are at the place anymore where they are getting 50-60 point differences.
What was the
It's
score
one
in the
of
last one between us?
I do think it was like 43-12, something like that.
Yeah.
I think that's why we all
I think it's
felt
going
most
to be
comfortable there.
similar.
Yeah.
Anyway, each week we also try to include some grassroots news. Kolya, we kind of missed something last week. You want to catch us up?
Yes. So a couple weeks ago were the Sevens Club National Championships. It was a fun little or big tournament up in Madison, Wisconsin. Women's championship was an all Chicago affair with the Chicago Lions beating the Chicago North Shore 17-15, while the men had Nova from Virginia and again the Chicago Lions playing. Nova winning by 1 point at the very end, very close. That one did lose a little bit of luster when MLR Rookie of the Year Peyton Wall got hurt early on in the first half, or that could have been a much different game.
Any follow up on that?
He's a hamstring injury that they haven't disclosed exactly how long he's out for.
Mm.
But if someone wants to go back and watch just certain matches on the Rugby Network, two matches I would put on your radar: the men's semifinal between Chicago Lions and Old Blue New York was an up and down affair where it looked like Old Blue were going to win by a lot, and Chicago came back and scored 3 tries in a few minutes or in a couple of minutes. Just why you love sevens. Just the absolute why you love
You told
sevens.
us about a prop scoring like a 60-meter try as
Yes.
well.
Yes.
And we would like listeners to know, for Kolya, as you can tell, not a super excitable guy. Super excited.
Yes. Yes. And then my absolute favorite match of this tournament was the women's 9th place playoff between HEB and the Oregon Sharks, won by the Oregon Sharks. But this match was just absolutely bonkers. There were a bunch of props just running roughshod over everyone. It was
You love to see it.
was
I
amazing.
love that.
It was
Oh,
amazing.
absolutely look that up
Did you
on the
did
Rugby
you say
Network.
one of the teams was HEB, like Texas
Yeah,
FEMA?
the
They
Texas FEMA. I was like, do you mean the grocery store?
Yes, they purposely took the name of
Oh, okay.
the grocery store.
I thought you were gonna say that it was just like a bunch of people who, like, in their off time from working at HEB, they're like, should we put a sevens team together?
It's
You know how sometimes you like play soccer in the parking lot? They're like, no, we play full professional sevens.
Oh, my hope is that someone from HEB listens to this podcast and decides we need to go all in on getting a professional rugby team.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Either that, or they're like, I actually talked to my boss, like, we're starting to sponsor them. We're actually doing a partnership.
And I happen to know all about all the Spurs commercials they've done for HEB. The San Antonio Spurs they've done the funniest
know that.
commercials for HEB. It's great. Like, if they could get Tim Duncan from wherever on earth he is now to come and support this team, he could finance the whole thing.
That's fantastic.
Also, coming up, speaking of sevens, coming up this weekend, the return of Rugby Town Sevens. I don't know if that counts grassroots or not. Really cool tournament. They're like the Savannah Bananas of sevens somehow. It's just like, you know what? Is that the jar of zaniness? I'm just gonna shake a little bit more on that. It's pretty great.
Mm-hmm.
What would people like more than a bunch of props on the run?
Yes.
Exactly. Okay, my friends, any last thoughts before we call a full lid?
Go Eagles.
Go Eagles.
Okay.
And hopefully we get a team sheet in the next few hours.
Exactly.
It'll come out Saturday.
If we do, actually, I don't mean to voluntold anybody, but we might get a little quick reaction from one of you two. I don't know.
Oh yeah. That's a good idea. I mean, doesn't it partially feel like the teams are like, no, we're just not going to play. Like the game might not happen or
Yeah,
something.
yeah.
Or the team sheet will come out Saturday morning, but the names will be spelled wrong. They spelled Paula Balacana wrong at Fort Quincy in the conference final for the Free Jacks this year.
Wow, you should feel bad. They should feel bad. The person who did it should feel bad.
Yeah. Okay, as always, thanks to Lee, Hugh, and all the folks at Rap. Thanks to all of you for coming along and watching or listening. We're on YouTube. We're on all the usual platforms for audio pods. We just surpassed 300 subscribers on YouTube. So, if you want to help out by spreading the word, that would be phenomenal. Thank you again to everyone for joining us. We're really getting psyched up for the World Cup. I can't believe it's less than 48 hours from now. We're going to have reactions, like Julia said. We haven't actually talked about it yet, so we should probably do that. But in any event, we'll be here and we will be overly excited. Until next week, cheers. Thanks to you all, and be well.